Congrats, you just got done making your very first platformer, but it's looking kinda crap, so let's fix that by making it look something like this. Now, it's still not great, but at least it's better than what you had before, and that's all that matters. Anyway, with that said, let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're actually gonna start by setting up our spike. So add an area 2D and rename it to spike. Now add a collision shape as the child node of the spike and a sprite as the child as well. Now just navigate to wherever your sprites are and then just drag a texture in the texture field of your sprite. And then for the collision shape, set up a new collision shape. I'm using a rectangle collision shape and just resize it to however you want. Now add a script to the spike, and then with the spike selected, connect an area entered signal to it. And yeah, that's our spec setup. Now, it's kind of important to actually have a start screen, win screen, and lose screen for our game. So yeah, let's actually make that. So we're gonna do a start screen. So it's just a control node with a center container and a VBox container. Inside the VBox container, we're gonna add a label, and then we're also gonna add a button and another button. Now, with our first button selected, we're gonna use this as our start button, so just enter start for the tags, and then our second button, it's gonna be our quit button. Then our label is gonna be the title of our game, so in this case it's Crappy Platformer. So yeah, I'm just telling it how it is. And yeah, it looks kind of crap. So with our start screen node selected, go down to theme, click on theme, and actually I already made the resource that I was gonna use, so we're just gonna delete that and remake it. So right click on the folder, new resource, and then type in dynamic font, select dynamic font, name it to whatever you want, and there we go. Now just double click it and go to settings, font, and then click and drag a font into the font data of that. Then back in our start screen node, and under theme, there's a default font, and then just select the font resource you just made, and there we go. It looks less crappy, so there's an improvement at least. Now I'm just adding a color rect and making sure that the layout is set to full rect, and I just gave it a color. And yeah, this looks less crappy now. And we can save. And yeah, there we go. Now we do need some press signals for our button, so to add the signals we need to add a script to our start screen. And now we can actually add our press signal to the first button. In the case of the first button, we want it to do get tree.change scene to whatever scene we want it to go to. And then for the second button, we also connect another press signal. And in this case, it's going to be get tree.quit. And that's pretty much it. For our buttons at least.
Another one. And another.
And yeah, just like that guy said, we basically just copy what we just did for the other screen. So I just made a new instance scene from our start screen, and then I'm just renaming stuff and changing the text. So yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. Easy, I know. It's kind of like cheating, but not really. It's just being smart and being big brain. Now apparently I forgot to center the text, so I just did that. So make sure that it's align center and be align center, and yeah, we're good to go. And then do the exact same thing one more time for our lose screen or game over screen, whatever you want to call it. And there we go, it's all set up. Well, almost. Now it's all set up. Now back in our spike scene, now we can actually do get tree dot change scene to our loose screen. And bam, done. Beautiful, I know. Now let's actually add an actual background to our game. So in this case, we're gonna use a parallax background. And inside the parallax background as a child, we want to add a parallax layer. And as a child of the parallax layer, we want to add a texture rect. Now we just drag our sprite into the texture rect texture. And there we go. Now, I am making the parallax background a child of the camera 2D. And now, I actually want to select the parallax background and make sure that ignore camera is on. And then back in the parallax layer, I want to change the motion scale to something else like 0.3 in this case, and the mirroring has to be the size of our image, and I'm mirroring it along the x-axis. So in this case it's 512 because that's the size of the image. And with that, we can just pretty much duplicate as many layers as we want, and then just drag, if I can, the texture into the texture field. And yeah, pretty much just keep doing this for all the other layers that you added. In this case I have 4 layers, so I have 2 layers for the mountain and 2 layers for the sky. And it's kinda a mess order-wise, so just reorder it to get it to look how it's supposed to.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty good, I know. Anyway, I'm just renaming all the layers. It's, you know, something that you should get in the habit of doing so that you can actually tell what you're selecting and what it is that you're selecting, because if you don't, you kind of get lost, especially if it's a big project. Anyway, with that said, I'm actually going to select the parallax background, and I'm going to go down to transform, and then actually scale it. You don't actually have to do this, that just worked better in my case, for my camera at least. And then I offset it by -125 as well. And then I'm actually limiting the camera as well, so for the bottom I'm doing 230. And then for the left I am doing 0. Now this pretty much limits how far to the left and how far to the bottom our camera can go. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I just gotta add our spikes to our levels, so I'm just adding a normal node to our main world scene and using that as a container for our spikes essentially. So then I'm just instancing the spikes into this empty node that we just made, and it's massive, so let's actually go back to the spike scene and then change the scale to something a little bit smaller because that's way too big. And yeah, there we go, it's set up at least. And now we can just pretty much duplicate the spikes as many times as we want. And for all the levels that we actually want to have spikes in. So yeah, you know, just add instance in your spike and then just duplicate them and spam them everywhere. And apparently, real quick, I apparently had a typo. So in your start screen GD, make sure it's .quit parentheses. And now it's time to actually add some music to our game, because right now it's super boring. So add a audio stream player and then just call it whatever you want. I call the music, click and drag your music into the stream, make sure the autoplay is on and it's set to loop. And then in the auto load in the settings, you want to select that music scene and then click add, and there you go, it's pretty much set up to go now. And also in project settings under run, make sure that you select your start scene, or the main scene, that's what it's called in the settings. And lower the volume, otherwise rip your ears because it's probably super loud. And yeah, there we go, we have music in our game. Now the background isn't working because we kind of forgot to change the motion scale, so just do that to fix it. Now let's actually add some sound effects to our player. So all you have to do is add an audio stream player, and then in the player script you want to add a unready var, and you know, you can call it whatever you want. I'm calling it SFX in this case, and then you want to set it equal to the audio stream player node. And then down where we actually want to play the sound effect, in this case, and when we jump, we do SFX dot stream is equal to load, and then we can click and drag our sound effect into the load. And then to play it, we just do SFX dot play. Now if you run the game, look at that, we have jumping sounds, or noises, whatever you want to call them. And then we touch the spikes, we die. And if we fall off the stage, we get respawned. And if we can make it, to the exit, just give me a second here. Alright, if we make it to the exit, it takes us to the next level. And if we make it to the final exit, we make it to the win screen. Look at that, we have a full game. Now we click quit, it quits the game. And yeah, congrats, now you're actually done, I guess, unless you want to make it any better. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video useful, at least a little bit. And yeah, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, then leave a like and consider subscribing, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.